Unequal application of the law is something we talk about a fair bit on this channel. Also, we've talked about the law as written and the importance of the law as it is put into practice by the authorities. So in the past week or past month or so, we've seen a couple of examples that I thought worth looking at to see what does the state consider mischief, what does it consider uttering threats, what does it consider hate crime, and what does it not consider hate crime or uttering threats. Hello, my name is Nicholas Wansbutter. I'm a lawyer in Stratford, Ontario, Canada, and welcome to Don't Talk TV. So as I said in the preamble, I want to look at, once again, some examples of the law not being applied exactly equally, and specifically focusing on how is it that the government chooses to enforce it differently. Who does it get enforced on? Who does it not get enforced on? What's considered hate crime? What's considered mischief? What's not considered? So first, let's look at the example that just came up last week of something that is not a hate crime, it's not threatening, it's not mischief, according to our government, because no one was arrested and there were no charges. So this clip is from a protest last week, October the 7th, in Vancouver at the art gallery there, and some choice words that one of the presenters had.
Do not wonder how revolution can be done! We must do it! Death to Canada! Death to the United States! And death to Israel!
So we can see there clearly this lady yelling, "Death to Canada, death to America, death to Israel." I've looked into this, as far, at least according to any media reports, be it legacy media or alternative media, no one was charged. This lady was never charged for saying these things. This protest is considered a valid exercise of freedom of expression. Now, whether we agree that this is a valid exercise of freedom of expression is irrelevant. What is relevant is that the state apparently does not consider that anything unlawful. That's just free speech. But then compare to what happened in the courts about a month earlier, September the 9th. Anthony Olenek and Chris Carber, the two remaining accused from the Coutts blockade, they were sentenced. Now, notably, they had been acquitted of conspiracy to kill an RCMP officer, but they had been found guilty by the jury of mischief over $5,000. Mischief being the blockage to the border crossing and the economic impact, which was over $5,000. Apparently, that's what the jury found. Now, as I said, those individuals were sentenced to 6.5 years jail for mischief over $5,000. Now, there are some interesting things that I think could be appealed out of that, and maybe it will be appealed. It seems that the judge, even though they were acquitted of the conspiracy, he factored in a lot of the evidence of the conspiracy in sentencing them. So he didn't just sentence them for mischief, he sentenced them for planning. In his view, he found that they planned to ambush the police. Now, that's one of the difficulties with the jury trials. If they convict of anything, it is open to the judge to make his or her own factual findings in assessing the counts that they did find people guilty of. But again, very noteworthy. Coutts, that was absolutely worthy of charges and years of jail in the penitentiary. There's all the images that we remember very well from Ottawa, from that protest. I mean, that was a protest where people were professing their love for Canada, waving Canadian flags, protesting in favor of what I had always been taught were foundational Canadian values, such as freedom, the right to do with one's body and put into one's body what one chooses and not to put into their body what one doesn't choose, the freedom to walk around, breathe fresh air, not be locked in one's house. That was deemed, I mean, essentially a terrorist activity. As you recall, the Emergencies Act was invoked, which is the successor to the War Measures Act. I think Emergencies Act kind of sugarcoats what that act is all about. War Measures Act is really a more appropriate name that really clearly shows what this is about. This is war-level emergencies that law is meant for, and that was invoked. But when we've seen a number of these pro-Palestinian protests espousing similar views as this, that's not considered problematic. Similarly, you can see clips of some pro-Israeli protests that are we don't see a lot of that because neither legacy media nor alternate media really talk about what pro-Israel protests look like, so we don't really know what they look like, but you do see clips like this one where there's an individual running around with a nail gun saying that everyone in Palestine should die. I'm not aware. I think that male may have actually been charged with assault with a weapon, yet no hate crimes. Yet on the other hand, we've seen in a number of videos that I've covered recently, the type of sentences that are handed down for what's considered hate crimes. As we discussed previously, making memes or imagery for a allegedly neo-Nazi group like Atomwaffen, that's terrorism. If saying things questioning the Holocaust, that's punishable in law. We've seen cases, Mr. Suhye Chapu, we covered that in a previous episode, received significant jail for some speech that I would say is comparable to Death to Canada, only he wasn't actually calling for the death of people. You can check out that episode, and the link will be in the show description. So we can see there's a definite disparity. Also, the very first hate crime video that I did with the leader of the Nationalist Party of Canada, he was sentenced to significant jail for saying that a certain, in his words, quote, parasitic tribe, unquote, should be removed from the country. I mean, again, that's less than death, as I argued in the initial video on that, but that is treated as a hate crime. So it's important to look at how the law is enforced, not just knowing what the law is, but knowing how it's enforced. Now, of course, I recommend that you don't break the law, period, but that becomes hard to not do when things that at the letter of the law don't look like they should be crimes are treated as crimes, and then things that on the letter of the law look like they should be crimes aren't treated as crimes. But I think this also underscores the importance of having legal counsel represent you, because it's a very difficult quagmire to navigate. So that's about all the time I have this week. As always, we're very busy here at my law offices, with my day job, as it were. This video itself isn't legal advice, but if you need legal advice, please call a lawyer. You can call another lawyer, myself. And if you have show topics you'd like to see us cover, please leave a comment in the comment section. I will be following up with some videos. There were some good questions in some of our recent videos that I'll try to address. And if you found this video at all interesting, helpful, or informative, please consider liking, sharing, subscribing, and following us on social media.